Okay, so today for our video notes, we're going to talk about percent of a quantity, or finding a number based on a percent. There's a couple different things that we'll do with this, but I do want to show you some models. You can find the percent of something simply by multiplying. So I'm going to show you that first, and then I'm going to show you a model, because as we move on, the questions will change a little bit and the difficulty will also change a little bit. So if, for example, and I don't have any vocabulary here today because we've talked about some of the vocabulary already in our last notes. If I'm just finding a simple percentage, like find 5% of 160, I can solve this with a model, or I can solve it by multiplying. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you by multiplying. So I'm going to take the whole number, which is 160. I'm going to multiply it by 5%. What I have to do is change 5% into a decimal. So 5% is also 0.05. It's 5 hundredths. And then I'm going to multiply. I can also turn it into a fraction. I guess I'll show you the fraction way. I just never used fractions, but it's also a way you can do it. I could do 160 times 5 over 100, and I put that 1 down there. Either way, you'll get the same answer. So let's start here. 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 6, 30. 5 times 1, 5, plus 3 is 8. And then I don't have to go any further because this next 0, everything's going to be zeros. 0 times 0, 0 times 0, 0 times 0. I mean 0 times 0, 0 times 6, 0 times 1. Now I just need to go in 2 places with my decimal. 1, 2. So 5% of 160 is 8. Now I'm going to check it over here. I'll have 100 on the bottom. 160 times 5 is 800. 800 divided by 100 is still 8. So either way, I get 8. If I were to draw my bar model, I would draw this bar, meaning that it's 100%, but it is also worth 160. And since I'm looking for 5s, I would divide this up by 5s till I get to 100. I could also do it by 10s till I get to 100. And then I would have to find half of 10. So let's just do 5. There are 20 5s and 100, so I'm going to have 20 boxes. That should be 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And it's the same idea. Each of these boxes is worth 5%. So I take that 160 and I divide it by how many boxes there are, which are 20. And that 20 is worth 5%. So 160 divided by 20 is like 2 into 16, which is 8. So our answer is 8 for all 3 different ways that we solved the problem. This model is going to come in more clearer for us, and we're going to use this model again, as I said, as the problems get more difficult. So let me show you another example. I'm going to label this example number 1. This time I'm going to find the whole amount, or the 100%, based on the percentage that they give me. So the problem says there are 96 CDs in a box. These 96 CDs represent 8% of a collection. How many are in the collection? So for this problem, I'm going to use a model, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. So here's my whole, and it represents 100%. But we don't know what the whole is. We don't know how many are in the actual collection. We do know that we have 8%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend that I'm making 100 little boxes. That would be they would be smaller than this. And I'm going to take eight of those for 8%. And I know that those 8% equal 96 CDs. So my goal is to find 1% first. And 1% is going to be these 8 boxes divided up by the 96 CDs. So we know 8% equals 96. 1% is going to be 96 divided by 8. So I'm finding out what one of those tiny little boxes is. So I do 8 into 96, and 1% is equal to 12 CDs. So 1% equals 12 CDs. Once I know what 1% is, I can go from there and figure out everything else. So if I'm looking for how many are in the collection, I'm looking for the 100%. So if 1% is 12 CDs, then 12 times 100% gives me the total amount in the collection. We have 1,200 CDs in the collection. Okay, I'm going to do another example of this one. And this one's going to be a word problem. 27% of the students in a school are in grade 6. This is 540 students. How many students are in the school? So again, I'm going to look for 1%, and then 1% is going to take me to 100%. Here's what we know. 27% of the students in the school are in grade 6. We know that that 27% represents 540 students. We don't know what 100% of the students are. So my model will look like this, just like we did. We know that this bar is going to represent 100%, and we're looking for the amount of students in the school. That's what this bar represents. So if I pretend that I'm cutting this up into tiny little boxes that are each worth 1%, I'm going to get 27% that represent 6th grade. So here's how I'm going to write it out. 27% equals 540 students. One percent is how many of those students fit into those 27 boxes. This is a model we've done before. We've done this with dividing fractions, so this isn't new. So we're going to take those 540 students and divide them up among the 27 boxes to figure out how much goes in each box. So 27 into 540, 27 times 2 is 54, 27 into 0 is 0. I'm done. 1% equals 20. So 1% equals 20 students. Now I just have to figure out what 100% is. Once I know 100, I can make it in. Once I know 1, I can make it into 100. 100% is 20 students times the 100 equals 2,000 students in the entire school. Okay, I'm going to give you a to-do. Hopefully this made sense, but if not, go back and rewatch it. Here is your to-do. It is a word problem. Read everything carefully. Write the problem down so you have an example in your notebook. At an amusement park, 60% of the people were adults. And the rest were children. There were 720 adults. How many people, adults and children, were at the amusement park in all? So take that 720 that represents 60%, find the 1%, then find the 100%. We will be doing more problems like this in class.